the core point is just this, that every situation has multiple interpretations to it. And people fall into the trap of treating situations as though they only have one or two interpretations. The worst case scenario is when you fall into the trap of thinking that there's only one interpretation. Because if you only have one interpretation of a situation, whatever the situation is, and I'll be giving you a list of dozens of them in a moment, then look what happens. That becomes your reality. That becomes fact for you. That becomes absolute truth for you. Because you can't conceive, your imagination is too limited to conceive of alternative interpretations. So that then locks you into whatever your interpretation is. You don't even recognize it as an interpretation at that point. That's the worst case scenario. That's the most unconscious way to go about it. And this is what most people are doing in most situations. Then there's a situation of expanding your mind to seeing two interpretations. Really, when there's only one interpretation, it's not even an interpretation, it's taken as fact. But then when you've got two interpretations, two sides of a coin, two perspectives, now you actually get a little bit of a taste of the fact that interpreting is going on. That the mind is not just receiving raw facts, it's doing a lot of interpretive work. But the problem here is that now you get caught up in this tug of war, this duality. You see reality in a dualistic black and white way. This leads to tribalism and to partisanship. And so the ultimate problem here, of course, is that this is all part of a larger theme of self-deception that I've talked about. Not being cognizant of one's interpretations and treating them as fact, or only seeing two sides and two possible interpretations to a situation, leads to much misunderstanding of reality via self-deception. Most situations have way more than one or two interpretations. Interpretation is core to how you make sense of the world. Facts, just the very idea of a fact, this idea that there's something that exists independent of you and your mind and how you think about it, something that wasn't constructed by you. This is what you call a fact. And oftentimes, the mind appeals to these facts, which aren't really facts. The mind treats it as a fact for the convenience of going about survival so that you don't have to think very deeply about anything. You just say, oh, that's a fact. It's not really a fact, but you treat it that way, and that becomes your reality. You need to notice that most of what people call facts are actually interpretations. And of course, by people, I mean you. Facts alone have no value, no meaning, no sense to them. And furthermore, which set of facts you focus upon, this is highly biased and selective. So the problem is not that you're citing facts, it's which facts you're cherry picking to bolster your sense of reality. See, a fact alone tells you nothing about what you should do, what's worthwhile, what's not worthwhile, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what you should pursue or not. A fact doesn't tell you this. That requires interpretation. And the tricky thing here is that there's always more than one way to make sense of facts. People like to act as though the way they make sense of facts is the only way, or the right way, or the best way, and that is where the self-deception happens. Epistemic blunders mostly lie not in the facts themselves, but in how you make sense of them and which facts you focus upon.